Hey guys, Luke back here on Sean's channel. Today I'm very excited to bring you guys a new deck profile. This is my hero deck profile. I've been playing heroes for a long time now. I love seeing how this deck has evolved from its start in the GX anime all the way up to its competitive nature now. I think the addition of the Evo heroes with their new support is a nice little addition to the deck itself. I think they can play most optimally if you're playing like a full sort of pure Evo hero deck, but that's not what this deck is. I just try to incorporate Evo heroes as best as I can with a small enough package into Omni heroes, and so that's the deck I'm showing you guys right now. This is kind of a mix of all the different types of heroes, whether that be Elemental, Destiny, Vision, and Evil, all combined into one. It may not be the most optimal way to play the deck, but it's the way I most enjoy it myself. So without further ado, let's just get straight into heroes. Let's start things off with the Elemental heroes, because that's pretty much where they started with. And I want to kick it off strong with 3 copies of Elemental hero Stratos. Stratos is of course the best starter of the deck, especially if you're bringing him out with a hero lives. When he's summoned, you can activate one of the following effects: either destroy spells and traps on the field up to the number of hero monsters you control except this card, or, and more importantly, you can add one hero monster from your deck to your hand. That's not restricting us to just Elemental hero monster you're able to add. You can add any hero you want, whether that be a Vision hero, an Evil hero, even a Destiny hero too. And consider that he's the main target that you bring out with a hero lives. It's definitely very important that you run Stratos at 3 copies in this deck. You only run to 1 copy of Shadow Mist. On special summon, Shadow Mist is able to search you a copy of Mass Change, which can be quite good depending on the matchup, but we mostly use her secondary effect that when she is sent to the graveyard, you can add a hero monster from your deck to your hand. You can only use one or the other effect of Shadow Mist once per turn, so most of the time you're using her for that graveyard effect. Definitely very important to run at 1 copy. Next up is 1 copy of Liquid Soldier. Some of you guys might turn off right now. That's absolutely fine. This card right here is pretty much the main indicator that this is not the most competitive hero deck, but I find this to be the most fun. I really like the Liquid Soldier. I think his draw effect when he's used for a fusion summon is very good. I have a lot of fun with Absolute Zero in the deck as well. I like to get a lot of tricks to go off of that. So I think he's a lot of fun to use. That's why I run him at 1 copy. Next up, you have 1 copy of Elemental hero Neos. Neos is becoming more and more important to run at 1 copy in heroes as the years go by, because you're getting a lot more support for Neos specifically. This is very evident with the likes of cards such as Shining Neos Wingman and even the new Evil hero Neos Lord. There's some monsters in this extra deck that you specifically need Elemental hero Neos in order to go into them, so it's really important to run them at 1 copy. And we can afford to run out 1 copy because not only heroes great at searching themselves out, we also specifically run a copy of Extra Hero Infernal Divisor to search them out too. So 1 copy is all you need. Going on to the Vision heroes now, we will run 3 copies of Vision hero Faris. Faris is great because you can discard 1 other hero monster in order to special summon him from your hand. And then if this card is normal or special summoned, you can place 1 Vision hero monster from your deck in your spell and trap card zone face up as a continuous trap. That monster you're going to put in spell and trap card zone is going to be a copy of Vision hero Increase. I run 2 copies of Increase just because if he opens up in your hand, Faris is pretty much dead. So I definitely think it's better to run 2 copies of Increase because you really want Faris to pop off. Because if you're in a state where Faris is on the field and Increase in your spell and trap card zone, you can use Increase effect where you're able to use Increase to tribute 1 hero monster on the field and then special summon him out, and then you can special summon 1 level 4 lower Vision hero monster from your deck. And then continue with that pattern, that Vision hero monster you're going to be special summoned from your deck is your Vision hero Vyon, which I run 2 copies of in this deck. Honestly, this whole line is just to get to Vyon as consistently as possible, because Vyon within himself is pretty much a 1 card combo, which I've demonstrated on the channel before, where you can use Vyon as a 1 card combo to get Sunrise and Absolute Zero on the field with a +1. Vyon is absolutely crazy because when this card is normal or special summoned, you can send 1 hero monster from your deck to the graveyard. That's great because it's able to send Shadow Mist in order to get a search, or you can send Malicious to get more bodies on the field. But not only that, Vyon also has the effect that once per turn you can banish 1 hero monster in your graveyard and add 1 Polymerization from your deck to your hand, which of course is definitely very essential because I built this deck in a way that Polymerization is extremely important as one of the main ways we fuse with this deck. Let's move on to Destiny heroes now. 3 copies of Destiny hero Malicious. Still an odd that this is back to 3 after being semi-limited for so long on the ban list. It's just essential to run them at 3 copies. We also run 1 copy of Denier. Denier is a great complement to Malicious because it has a once per duel effect that if you have a Destiny hero monster on the field or in the graveyard, you're able to special summon Denier from the graveyard onto the field. That's only once per duel. But if Denier is normal or special summoned, you can take 1 of your Destiny hero monsters either in the deck, graveyard, or banish and place on the top of the deck. This was very helpful to heroes when Malicious was at 2 copies, because what you were able to do was if you gone through your Malicious, i.e. being 1 of them is banished, what you could have done is brought out Denier, get get that banish one to the top of the deck, then banish Malicious from the graveyard to recycle that Malicious from your deck again. But now that Malicious at 3, it makes Denier all the more crazier. You're practically going to be running through your Malicious cards like there's no tomorrow. So one copy of Denier is important as well. And rounding off the Destiny Heroes, one copy of Plasma. I will admit it may not be the best format for Plasma, but I still find it to be really good. It's skill drain on legs for the cost of tributing 3 monster, and considering how well heroes are able to spam the field, 3 tributes to bring out Plasma is definitely well worth it. So I like to run a 1 copy in the deck. Going into Evil Heroes now, 1 copy of Evil Hero Adusted Gold. I know this has shot up in price a whole lot, so if you can't manage to get your hands on it, that's absolutely fine. The other Evil Hero monsters aren't as bad in terms of price, but Adusted Gold is still good to have for consistency. We also run 1 copy of Evil Hero Dead End Prison. Dead End Prison is my favorite new Evil Hero monster, because if you control a fusion monster that must be special summoned with Dark Fusion onto the field, you can actually special summon Dead End Prison from your hand. And if you special summon this way, you're able to send 1 hero monster from your deck to the graveyard. So that's great. Very similar to Vyon in that effect, which is a little bit more restricted. But it's always good when we have ways to get our hero monsters such as Malicious or Shadow Mist into the graveyard for their powerful effects. But not only that, if you fusion summon a hero monster this turn, you can use this face up card on the field as a substitute for 1 material mentioned by name, which is fantastic because this makes Evil Hero Inferno Wing Backfire playable to us without having to run Avian or Persinistrix. So Dead End Prison is definitely essential to run for some of those key combos. Keeping on brand with the new Evil Hero monsters, Evil Hero Infernal Rider, who has a nice little combo with Dead End Prison. They have really great synergy off of each other. That if Infernal Rider is normal or special summoned, you can add 1 Dark Fusion from your deck or graveyard to your hand, which is a good way to get some recursion. But also you can banish this card and 4 other monsters from your graveyard and set 1 Super Polymerization from your deck, and then also you cannot special summon except hero monsters until the end of your opponent's turn. But if you're able to get that effect to pop off, what you can actually do is fusion summon monsters that must be special summoned with Dark Fusion using other cards' effects. So the reason why that is so powerful is the fact that you're able to banish him and 4 other monsters from the graveyard in order to set Polymerization, to essentially use Polymerization in order to go for 1 of your monsters that must be special summoned with Dark Fusion, i.e. the most powerful being Evil Hero Neos Lord. So it's a good bit of interruption in that way, so I definitely think it's essential to run Infernal Rider at 1 copy. And then finally, Evil Hero Sinister Necrom. He's another great monster to have in the graveyard because he's the effect that you're able to banish this card from the graveyard, special summon 1 Evil Hero monster from your hand or deck. Most of the time with that effect, you're going to be bringing out your Infernal Rider. So he's definitely essential to run at 1 copy. Then rounding off the monsters, 3 copies of Ash Blossom. I know some people don't like running hand traps in their hero builds. That's fine. I do. I think it's fun. If you want to cut it, then go ahead. Start things off, 1 copy of Reinforcing the Army. Simply add 1 level 4 lower warrior monster from your deck to your hand. Most of the time with that, we're bringing out Stratos or Vyon for the normal summon effects, or it's a good way to get Shadow Mist into her hand if you want to pitch her for Faris' effect. So Reinforcing the Army, definitely really good to run a 1 copy. We also run 3 copies of A Hero Lives. For the cost of half your life points, you're able to special summon 1 level 4 or lower elemental hero monster from your deck. 9 times out of 10, you're bringing Stratos out with this effect in order to get your plays going. But depending on what the matchup is and what it's like in the game state, maybe Shadow Mist might be worth bringing out 2 in order to search out your mass change, because Dark Lock can really mess up a few decks in the meta. So 3 copies of A Hero Lives, definitely very essential. 3 copies of Evil Assault. This is the one of the new cards for the Evil Hero support. With this card, you're able to discard 1 card and take 1 level 4 or lower Evil Hero monster from your deck and either add it to your hand or special summon it. But when you do that, you're locked into hero monsters from your extra deck, which is fine. There's no other type of monster in your extra deck except hero monsters anyways, so don't really care about that restriction. Most of the time when we're using Evil Assault, we're bringing out Dead End Prison, and that gets our Evil Hero plays going. But Evil Assault also has the effect that if this card is in your graveyard, except the turn it was sent there, you can banish this card from the graveyard and add 1 Dark Fusion from your graveyard to your hand. We essentially have 6 cards to fusion summon in this deck, so it's not that we're shy on how to fusion summon, but it is good to have as much recursion as we can. So this is a good way to recycle Dark Fusion. I'll breeze through all of the fusion cards because most of them are 1-ofs and you guys probably already know what to do anyways. So 1 copy of Polymerization, 1 copy of Dark Fusion, 1 copy of Dark Contact, which I find to be a little bit better than Dark Fusion, so definitely pick up a copy of that, 1 Miracle Fusion, 1 Mass Change, and 1 Super Polymerization. 1 copy of each of those is all you need. There are 1 copy of Call by the Grave. This is essentially a combo deck that we don't want to get interrupted, so Call by is essential. I also like to run 2 copies of Triple Tactics Talent just because interruption can mess us up really badly, so Talent is a great way for us to power through those interruptions. And finally, rounding off the spells, 2 copies of Forbidden Droplet. We're very capable of having a bunch of hand advantage, so I like to run Droplet over Imperm for this very reason. That's why I main deck deck it at 2 copies. Going into the traps now, 1 copy of Favorite Contact. In my last hero build, which was months ago now at this stage, it was a blind second hero build, so I didn't actually run Favorite Contact, hence I didn't have much experience with this card or how it works. But I do like how it's a way for us to bring out a very powerful boss monster in the form of Shining Neo's Wingman, because him on summon is able to get some pops on the field based on the number of hero monsters with different attributes on the field, so it's a great way to cheat him out during your opponent's turn. Definitely run 1 copy of Favorite Contact, it's essential. And finally, rounding off the deck, 1 copy of Dark Supremacy. Another bit of evil hero support that was printed recently. Has the effect that you can target face up cards your opponent controls up to the number of Dark Fusion and spells that mention it in your graveyard. Negate their effects until the end of this turn, which is great because we have not only Dark Fusion, but we also have Dark Contact, and even Evil Assault mentions Dark Fusion in its name as well. So there is a possibility for a lot of negates. But Dark Supremacy also has the effect that if this card is in your graveyard, except turn to a center, you can banish it, then target up to 5 hero monsters in your graveyard and / or banishment and shuffle them into the deck. So it has a nice recycling effect as well. So 1 copy of Dark Supremacy is very good at making sure you don't deck yourself out. Going into the next deck now, 1 copy of Evil Hero Neos Lord. You need Elemental Hero Neos or 1 fusion monster that mentions it and 1 effect monster on the field in order to go into Neos Lord. And although Neos Lord specifically says that it must be special summon with Dark Fusion, as I mentioned earlier, if you get your Infernal Rider to pop off to set that Super Poly into the back row, you can use a Super Poly to go into your Neos Lord as well. So that's a great way to suck up one of your opponent's monsters for a fusion summon, which I find to be really good since it's so generic. My only complaint is I wish it was a bit more like Yugioh, where Yugioh can use multiple of your opponent's monsters to go into Yugioh the Loving Defender. But I digress. Evil Hero Neos Lord is still a very good card because he cannot be destroyed by battle or card effects. And also, if this card is special summoned or a monster is sent to your opponent's graveyard while this card is on the field, you can target 1 face-up monster your opponent controls and just take control of it, which is really funny because they don't get that monster back either. So I definitely think Neos Lord is worth running at 1 copy in this deck. I also like to run 1 copy of Evil Hero Inferno Wing Backfire. It does say you need Elemental Hero Vyon or Elemental Hero Berserktrix plus 1 hero monster in order to go into him, but as I've already previously mentioned, you can cheat him out using Dead End Prison anyways, so this doesn't really come up in my mind to bother running Avian or Berserktrix, not even in the side deck, because we're really only bringing it out the one way. Must be special summoned with Dark Fusion, and if this card is special summoned, you can add 1 Dark Fusion or 1 card that mentions it from your deck or graveyard to your hand, except for fusion monsters. That's really good because what I find to be great, if you do use the original Dark Fusion in order to go into her, you're able to surge out your Dark Contact. Then Dark Contact can pretty much recycle those fusion materials you just used in order to bring out another body onto the field. So I find that fantastic. But that's not all Backfire does, because if your hero monster destroys an opponent's monster by battle, you're able to inflict 2100 damage to your opponent. So it's a nice little burn effect as well. What I will say about Backfire, if you use the effect to search out Dark Contact, 1 great target for Dark Contact that I still like to run is 1 copy of Evil Hero Malicious Bane. Malicious Bane used to be an absolute unit when it came to heroes, and considering we got some great Evil Hero support, I think it's worth bringing him back, because a lot of people weren't really playing him for a little while. A lot of people were trading it up for the Shining Neo's Wingman instead, but I'm very happy to say that we found room for him in here, so I definitely think it's worth running. So those are the 3 Evil Hero monsters that we run in the deck, in the extra deck. Going into Destiny Heroes now, 1 copy of Destroyer Phoenix Enforcer. Our extra deck is very tight, so I only have it at 1 in the extra deck, but we also run 1 in the side deck, just in case the matchup makes DPE and MVP, but considering he's able to revive himself a lot, 1 in the main extra deck isn't so bad. Going on to the masked heroes now, 1 copy of Darklaw and 1 copy of Blast. Darklaw is an absolute unit of a floodgate, essentially just banishes any card that your opponent sends to their graveyard, and considering how many decks rely heavily on the graveyard, that makes Darklaw an absolute menace. So we run 1 in the main extra deck and we run 1 in the side deck as well. Again, it just depends on the matchup, because the extra deck is very tight, but you never know what you're up against. And also 1 copy of Mass Hero Blast. Honestly, we most use Blast because if we have Mass Change in our hand and we get Stratos onto the field, it's to kind of avoid Imperm. So Imperm is a targeted effect negation, so if we have Stratos on the field, your opponent chains Imperm. What we're able to do is chain Mass Change, get Stratos off the field, so Imperm loses its target, and it's a good way of making sure our plays are able to go through. Blast also has a good effect for getting rid of spells and trap cards, but I'll be honest, the main reason we run him in the main deck is because we're dodging Imperm. So 1 copy copy of each, but I will go back on Dark Claw when we get to the side deck. Going on to the Elemental Heroes now, there's almost as many Elemental Hero monsters in the extra deck as there is in the main deck. One copy of Wake Up Your Elemental Hero can be a great OTK enabler, getting up to a ridiculous amount of attack, where he can also be used for combo pieces if he's destroyed, because then we're able to special summon out a warrior monster from our main deck. I also like to run one copy of Sunrise. On special summon, able to search out Miracle Fusion as an interruption during a battle phase, and it can give an attack boost depending on the amount of hero monsters with different attributes on the field as well. Definitely set to run at 1. One copy of Absolute Zero. If you don't want to run this package, then don't. I just like it. I like the fact that Absolute Zero is able to wipe the board if it leaves the field. We also run one copy of Elemental Hero Shining Neos Wingman. As I said already, you're mostly going to be bringing him out using Favorite Contact. You can get up to huge attack stats depending on how many monsters you have in the graveyard, and also it can pop cards your opponent controls based on a number of different attributes among monsters on the field. Definitely a great card to run. And finally, one copy of Elemental Hero Flame Wingman Infernal Rage. Very essential piece for your combos when you're going down the Shining Neos Wingman route, because most of the time you're using Infernal Rage and Neos in order to go into Neos Wingman, so it's definitely essential for that. But not only that, if you use a normal monster for his summon, i.e. your Neos, you're able to cheat out another hero monster from the extra deck, which most of the time is your Sunrise. So that's our Elemental Hero package that we run in the extra deck. Finally, we go into our links. One copy of Extra Hero Infernal Divisor. If this card is link summoned, you can reveal one hero fusion monster in the extra deck, and then you can add up to 2 of the fusion materials listed on that card with different names from your deck to your hand. So i.e. when you bring out Infernal Divisor, you're able to reveal your Shining Neos Wingman or even your Evil Hero Neos Lord to add Elemental Hero Neos from your deck to your hand to add that essential combo piece to get your Neos plays to pop off. So one copy is definitely very important. If you think you want to kind of like change this around, it's no problem to cut Infernal Divisor because you can already search your Neos from so many different ways, i.e. with your Stratos and Cross Crusader and Shadow Mist in the graveyard the likes. So completely up to yourself, but I still like running it in the extra deck as well. I also like to run one copy of Wonder Driver. If a hero monster is normal or special summoned to a zone that Wonder Driver points to, you're able to target one Polymerization spell card, one Fusion spell card, or one Change Quick Play spell card from your graveyard and set it onto the field. So it's a good way to recycle some for one of Fusion spells. And then finally, rounding us off, 2 copies of Extra Hero Cross Crusader. Cross Crusader has the effect that if it's link summoned, you can target one Destiny Hero monster in your graveyard and then special summon it, which is great for some revival, but most of the time we're going to be doing that just so you can get his other effect to pop off, where you contribute one Destiny Hero monster and then add one hero monster with a different name from your deck to your hand. So as you can clearly see, there are other ways for us to search out our hero monsters as Neos. So if you're second guessing Infernal Divisor, just always know that you have Cross Crusader there as well. So that rounds off the extra deck. Going into the extra deck now, I'd like to run one copy of Elemental Hero Honest Neos. I just think it's a very, very cool battle trick that can really catch your opponent off guard. I find it a little bit of fun that your opponent might not be expecting, but it's also easy for us to search out if we're going against a deck that is notorious for bringing out big monsters that are very hard to get around. Honest Neos is a good way to use the battle trick of boosting one of your hero monsters' attack up by 2500, so you can easily swing in over it or even swing in for games. So one copy of Honest Neos in the side deck I really like to run. I've seen these cards again, one copy of Dark Claw and one copy of DPE. You are allowed to run extra deck monsters in the side deck. The only thing you have to keep in mind is if you're going to a tournament, there's a weird sleeving rule you have to follow, so just keep that in mind. But I just like to keep an extra copy each of these guys in the side deck, just because you never know what the matchup is going to be. So if you think Dark Claw is going to be a great contender against your opponent, you definitely want to run more than one copy, so i.e. I keep it one in the side. And also DPE is just a powerhouse in itself. If I had more room in the extra deck, I probably would have thrown in this extra copy, but it's nice here in the meantime. Speaking of extra copies in the side deck, I actually run one extra copy of Mass Change in the side deck as well, because again, you never know how good Dark Claw is going to be. In order to go for Dark Claw, you need your Mass Change, so having the extra copy in the side deck if you think it's going to be good against your opponent is definitely worth the run. I also like to run 3 copies of Fusion Destiny in the side. I know some of you are probably wondering where the heck Fusion Destiny was in the main, but I just know for a fact that part of your main combo of heroes, you're able to use Polymerization to just hard go into DPE. So it's not really all that much more important to run Fusion Destiny in the main deck anymore. If you still want to run the one copy, that's absolutely fine. But considering how easy it is for us to just use Polymerization to go into it, and how our opponent is always holding their Ash waiting for Fusion Destiny, I think it's just worth running it in the side deck, because anyways, we don't even run that many Destiny hero monsters in the extra deck anyways to warrant it being main deck. So you can kind of see how you can kind of change your deck depending on the matchup. We have the extra DPE in the side deck and the 3 Fusion Destinies if you think it's really worth it for the matchup. So 3 copies in the side I find to be pretty good. I like to run 3 copies of Dark Ruler no more. If we're stuck going second and your opponent builds up a great board, it can be really hard for our heroes to combat that. Dark Ruler is just a very good way for us to just negate all their monster effects so that we can get our plays to pop off. 2 copies of Lightning Storm. Again, if we're going second, Lightning Storm is pretty good to run, and we don't have a whole lot of spell and trap card removal in this deck anyways, so Lightning Storm is great for that too. And finally, round things off, 3 copies of Imperm. You can very much see how this deck can change itself depending on what game you're going into. So if you think Targeted Negation is very good at combating your opponent, then Imperm is worth the run in the side. So that about does it for the deck. Please let me know what you guys think. I'm really happy with this deck turned out. If you're interested in building this deck or making a deck that's somewhat like this, please be sure to use our affiliate links down in the description below. We have a TCG player affiliate link that if you use, you are able to directly support the channel to help myself and Sean keep bringing you guys all these videos. Another way you guys can support is by considering becoming a member. Big shout out to our member Kieran Thompson for being our first member, and your continued support is greatly appreciated. Just want to give a special thank you to yourself for that. And finally, for everyone else, if you can please like the video and subscribe to the channel, or even leave us a comment saying your thoughts on this deck or how you got on playing it. We'd very much like to hear. So that does it. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time.